What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Sports Now. Today's the injury report as of May 4th, so let's just jump right into the content because we got a lot of people to get through. First one, bad news for the Dodgers. Obviously, bad news for Dustin May. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. I was watching the game. It looked like something kind of popped. They said elbow, and immediately, of course, if you watch this channel, we went to Tommy John, and that's what's happening here. Horrible news. Dustin May, I think it's bad for fantasy owners because he was such an up and coming kind of arm. But it is a guy that we kind of had pegged a while back for a potential risk in this kind of category here. But terrible news for everybody around. Next year he probably won't be ready still. So it'll be like a mid-season pickup. Dynasty leagues, obviously, you're going to keep Dustin May. So let's just move on. The other terrible news was Luis Robert running to first, grade 3 hip flexor strain. This says he won't even be able to start baseball activities till like week 15. That's brutal. That means he's got to get back into game shape and all that fun stuff. It's going to take him 4 months to get back on the field, at least, which is absolutely worse. I think this is worse news for the White Sox by far than it is Dustin May for the Dodgers, which, I don't want to really compare them, but it really hurts my Chicago White Sox to the World Series prediction, having Eloy and Robert both go down. So that is horrible news, and I think it's honestly he might be worth dropping if it's just like a normal kind of yearly league at this point, because he's not going. I mean, unless you have a lot of DL spots, I suppose you could put him there, but you're probably going to need those. So it's kind of a tough in between call, but it's absolutely horrible news for the White Sox. Moving on, last night, Anthony Rendon took one off the knee, fouled it off of himself, had to come out of the game. Looked like he was in a lot of pain. When with these, so far we've been lucky because every single one of these X-rays have come back negative, and they've been able to come back into the game, or a few days later. Nobody's broke anything yet, so he's kind of lucky. A lot of the guys hit their calves and they break, and then they're out for months. So Angels get lucky here. Rendon gets lucky. Fantasy owners get lucky, but really the most lucky are the Bryce Harper owners because old boy here got smoked in the face, and it sounds like he was just totally fine. You see this happen from time to time. Usually it's like a pitcher getting hit in the face like that, or in the head or something, and they're out for a while. Like they at least have a concussion. It doesn't even sound like Harper broke his like orbital at all. So it's very crazy. So I don't know why this is saying that he also suffered a wrist injury, but what a stud, absolute stud. Love him. Um, Moving on to Ryu, he had the glute issue, and he was kind of on the thumbnail of one of our prior videos here. We expected him to not go on the DL for very long, and that's what's happening here, and it looks like that's going to hold true. So that is good, and if that is true, then he will pitch. It says Thursday, and I think that's right. He's going to pitch Thursday against the Athletics, and that's not a bad start, actually, right now. So that's great news for Ryu. Great news for Toronto. They're starting to finally get healthy. Ian Happ, I saw this one too. Nico Horner was going out from second base, and it didn't look like Ian Happ was trying to call him off necessarily. They're both going for the ball hard, and they hit, and it looked like Nico Horner's knee pretty much went right into the chest of Ian Happ. That's what it looked like to me. Ian Happ went down. I don't know if he lost his breath or what it was exactly, but he was down, and he didn't really get back up until the cart came and got him. There's not really a whole lot of update on that yet, so we will have to see what happens here. Ian Happ has been putting together a really good year. Hopefully he didn't break any ribs. That's kind of where my thought is with it. My initial thought was he probably got hit and lost his breath and couldn't get back up. I've had that happen. I'm sure we all have. That sucks. But if he broke some ribs in there, then that wouldn't be good, obviously. But the major injuries, because I've also been in a game where there's a conclusion, a collision, if I could speak, and the right fielder ended up going back out the next play, and then he collapsed because he like punctured his liver or spleen or something. It was brutal. Um, so that was not hopefully what happened. I feel like if that happened, we would have heard about it. Lizardo, young kids these days, man. We all had that situation where we've been frustrated. Lizardo fractured his hand playing video games. Essentially, he got so mad that he smacked something, a table, the wall, whatever it was, and he broke his arm. Oh boy, I don't know what to make of this. This seems to happen every year. Somebody has an ATV accident, or somebody has Joel Zamaya back in the day supposedly hurt his wrist playing Guitar Hero. This is just a bit of an immature moment, and I feel like a lot of us have those moments. But boy, punch a couch or something. Like why you gotta hit something hard? Yeah, I get it. Like whatever. Yeah, he's gonna be out now for a few weeks, probably at least. So I mean, brutal. That's just brutal. He hasn't been that great this year, but you're looking for him to continue to improve, and this is a massive setback towards that improvement. So kind of an embarrassing injury. I'm surprised they didn't make something up to to get away from admitting the truth there. Corbin Burns, there's literally still no update, which pretty much 100% almost guarantee confirmed is COVID, and it's since he hasn't come back yet, this isn't just protocol. It seems most likely that Corbin Burns does actually, in fact, have COVID, or somebody extremely close to him does. The only thing now is that you just hope, from a person's perspective and a fantasy perspective, that he doesn't have the type of COVID that really, really hurt out, like Eduardo Rodriguez last year, or who else? Somebody else got it really bad. Can't remember off the top of my head. It was Modesty. Yeah, got it really bad. And so, no, Moncada, that's what it was. Yon Moncada for Chicago got it really bad. It just affected his performance for the rest of the season. You just hope that that's not what's going to happen to Burns here, and hope for the best. But it has to be COVID, because there's literally not been an update for like a week and a half, and this is one of the only injuries you don't have to actually give a designation to. So moving on, it's funny because yesterday, late last night, I was looking up David Price to see how his hamstring was doing, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't look good." Like 2 minutes after they say Dustin May's elbow, Tommy John, he's out for the season. All of a sudden, this morning, the Dodgers are now encouraged by his hamstring. So, they're thinking he's doing great now. So, kind of weird. This is why you have to be careful with these things. Literally a couple hours before, they're saying how they think he's going to be out multiple weeks, and now all of a sudden they're very encouraged, and they think he's going to be back sooner, and da 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 da. It's just, I don't know. It's very confusing because they don't tell you the truth, and this is exactly what we're talking about with these things, and this is why this is important. I fully expect David Price to take the roster spot after Dustin May going down when he does eventually come back. Jordan Hicks, man, this annoys me. Jordan Hicks a little bit, I have to say. He's the dude that goes out, throws 103, tries to throw 103, and inevitably gets Tommy John because he's trying to throw it as hard as he possibly can, trying to light up the radar. And then so he gets Tommy John, he comes back, and what does he change to try to not get Tommy John again? Absolutely nothing. He comes back and is throwing as hard as he can, the exact same thing, and guess what? He has an elbow problem again. Who would have thought that repeating the exact same thing over and over again would lead to another elbow problem? I hope for his sake that he doesn't have to have another Tommy John surgery, but that is a thing that can and will happen to people. And oh boy, what a disaster that would be, because young up and comer, obviously people love that he throws hard, but you got to be able to have change. If you're having problems throwing it like that, anyway, you know what? Let's just move on. I got a lot of names here. It's already at 9 minutes. Brian Hayes here. Take a soft toss. This is good. The wrist injury is never fun. We've been over this a few times. It is something that lingers. He had a setback, and they're going to baby him up now. There's not any reason not to baby him up, and I expect him to be babied. And when he does come back, I expect him to lose some power. J.D. Davis went on the DL. He's got a left middle finger strain. I've actually had this before. It usually only takes a couple days, and then you feel fine. Sounds like it just didn't take a couple days until he felt fine, so they threw him on the DL. Retroactive, so he'll be back, in the minimum. Molina's on his way back. He's resuming baseball activity. Don't expect anything to set him back there. Modesty is finally starting to begin his rehab with his oblique. That's great news. They're saying mid-May. I think it'll be late May. Honestly, I think it's going to be much longer than that. And that's the list, guys. It's right at 10 minutes. This one went long. We had a ton of names, ton of injuries. We'll see you next time.